this video, I'm going to share with you 4 different brushes that you can use when doing line work and detail work in acrylic paintings. And as you can see, if you haven't watched any of my videos before, I make very colorful animal paintings. You can see one that's in process behind me. So I do lots of detail work in the eyes, noses, and whiskers. So there's a lot of different brushes that you can use for this. And I have one brush that is my favorite brush for this type of work of all time. So I'm going to share that with you at the very end of the video. But leading up to it, I'm going to share the common brushes that people use. The first one is, this is a round brush. Now round brushes come in various thicknesses. This one is a 0. You can see the tip of it is very thin. This one is a 6 and the tip is much thicker. Now, it depends on the size of the line that you're trying to create, but a round brush is really good for lines. Especially if you're trying to do something really thin, you can use the thin brush and a thicker line with the thicker brush. I use this round brush a lot of times when I'm signing my paintings because it doesn't have a huge amount of bristles. They're shorter versus this brush, which is called a rigger. This one is a number 2 rigger, so it comes in a little bit thinner one as well. But you can see the 0 round versus the rigger, and the rigger has a lot longer brush bristles. So you don't have quite as much control if you were doing detail work. Like if you're trying to sign your painting, the rigger is probably not the best thing to do. But the 0 round works really well because the bristles they don't move around quite so much when you're trying to do those fine details. The rigger is nice for things like long lines. I use the rigger when I'm trying to make abstract, kind of very thin wispy lines, especially when I'm doing abstract paintings. But I don't use the rigger very much in my animal paintings because it's just, there's not enough control since the bristles are really long. But it is a good brush to have just if you want to do some really long lines that don't have an incredible amount of control. There's this brush also. It's very small. It's called a spotter, and they also come in various sizes. This is one of the smallest ones you can get, and so you can see the bristles on this one are even shorter than they are on the round, so it gives you a little bit more control. The downside to having less bristles on the brush though is that you can't load it with as much paint. And so let's say you're trying to do whiskers with either of these brushes. If your whiskers are small, like you're painting maybe a 5x7 or something, these brushes will work great. But if you're trying to do, let's say, a 24x30 painting, you won't be able to make one solid, consistent line with it because it's going to run out of paint. It just can't load enough paint into the brush. And so that's why, although I've used these types of brushes in the past, I've learned over time to use my favorite brush of all time for doing whiskers, and this is a 3/8 inch angled shader. Now I love this brush because you can do detail work with the tip, the very tip of the brush, but you can also use it to create lines by just using the flat side of the brush. And then you can erase your lines by dipping the brush in water and then using the side of the brush. In the future, I might do a video that gives you an up-close look at exactly how to use this brush to make lines, but since this video really is just an overview of brushes, I'm not going to include that information here, but I would say look out for a future YouTube video that will show you a more detailed look of the techniques behind using this particular 3/8 inch angled shader. But I like this one from Michaels. I'm not an affiliate of Michaels. I don't get anything for recommending them, but I just I love this particular brush. It's an Artist Loft Vienna brush. So yeah, well, I guess that concludes the video. Thank you so much for watching, and if you have any questions about brushes or art supplies with painting acrylics, I'd be happy to answer your questions if I can, so just post them in the comments below. All right, thanks so much for watching. See you next time.